Captain Mac Thornhill was having one of those days where the universe seemed determined to test his patience. As the communications officer aboard the human exploration vessel Audacity, his job was relatively straightforward: maintain contact with Earth, scan for alien transmissions, and occasionally send out friendly "hello, we come in peace" messages to whatever corner of space they were currently exploring. Simple, really. At least it should have been. "Captain, sir, would you mind explaining why you're watching Galaxy's hottest kitchen nightmares during your shift?" Commander Jenna Walsh loomed over his console, arms crossed and eyebrow arched to dangerous heights. Mac quickly minimized the window. "Research, Commander. Cultural research." "On what? How to properly scream at someone for overcooking space squid?" "You never know when culinary diplomacy might save humanity," Mac replied with a lopsided grin. "Besides, it's the season finale." Humanity had only been part of the galactic community for 3 standard Earth years. Most alien species regarded humans as quaint curiosities, bipedal mammals with an unusual fixation on recording themselves doing mundane activities and then broadcasting those recordings for entertainment. The Audacity was one of 12 exploration vessels tasked with establishing diplomatic relations with the various species that inhabited the Milky Way. So far, their reception had been lukewarm at best. Commander Walsh was not amused. "Just keep the personal entertainment to your quarters, Thornhill. We're approaching the Centauri Nexus Communications Hub. I need you focused." "Yes, ma'am, all business, no fun." "Got it." Mac saluted half-heartedly as she walked away. He returned to his work, fingers dancing across the control panel as he prepared the standard diplomatic greeting package for transmission. The Centauri Nexus was the largest communications relay in this quadrant, capable of boosting signals across thousands of light years. Any transmission sent through the Nexus would reach hundreds of inhabited systems. It was the perfect opportunity to showcase humanity's best qualities. Mac's finger hovered over the transmission button when his console pinged with an incoming message from Earth. Distracted, he opened it while simultaneously initializing the transmission sequence. Oh no, Mac's face drained of color as he realized his error. Instead of the carefully crafted diplomatic package, he had just broadcast the season finale of Galaxy's Hottest Kitchen Nightmares, featuring celebrity chef Gordon Mansley reducing 3 contestants to tears while throwing raw meat across a kitchen and unleashing a torrent of obscenities that would make a space pirate blush to every sentient species within 500 light years. Even worse, the broadcast had gone through the Nexus amplification system at maximum power. "Walsh is going to kill me," Mac muttered, frantically trying to terminate the transmission. "That's if the aliens don't kill us all first." Across the galaxy, thousands of different species intercepted the unexpected human broadcast. Most alien civilizations had developed translation algorithms to decipher human languages, but context was another matter entirely. On Zalon Prime, Supreme Overlord Gruxix Tar of the Mantoid Collective watched in horror as Chef Mansley grabbed a cleaver and violently dismembered what appeared to be the corpse of a domesticated Earth creature. By the sacred eggs, Gruxcar chittered to his advisors, mandibles clicking nervously. They consumed their companions while shouting ritual abuse. "The humans are more savage than we thought." In the methane swamps of Belgrath, the gaseous entities known as the Mist Speakers observed a contestant sobbing while being berated for an undercooked protein. They derive pleasure from the emotional suffering of their subordinates, the speakers concluded, their vapor bodies swirling with concern. And they mark dominance through loud vocalizations and aggressive posturing. Within 12 standard hours, the Galactic Council had convened an emergency session on the neutral planet Harmonium. Representatives from 17 major species gathered in the Grand Chamber, an amphitheater designed to accommodate everything from silicon-based crystalline entities to hyper-intelligent gas clouds. Ambassador Krill X of the Voxian hegemony, a tall, elegant being with iridescent scales and 6 arms, addressed the assembly. His translator converted his melodic whistles into standard galactic. Esteemed colleagues, what we have witnessed is nothing short of a declaration of intent. The humans have revealed their true nature, violent, emotional, hierarchical predators who take joy in domination and suffering. The chamber erupted in nervous chatter. A holographic projection of Chef Mansley appeared in the center of the room, freeze-framed as he hurled a pan across a kitchen, face contorted in rage. Look at this display of aggression, Krill X continued, and note the other humans cowering in fear. This is clearly a dominance ritual broadcast to intimidate rival species. The representative from the Procyon Federation, a small rodent-like creature with large ears and whiskers, squeaked nervously. But they seemed so harmless when we met them. They gave us chocolate and showed us pictures of their infant offspring. A clever deception, Krill X hissed. Did you not see how they subjected their own kind to psychological torture for entertainment? What would they do to species they consider inferior? The Harmonium Council Elder, a being composed of shimmering light, floated to the center of the chamber. What do you propose, Ambassador Krill X? The human threat must be neutralized before they expand beyond their current territory. I propose immediate action, a preemptive strike against their homeworld and colonies. The Procyon representative's whiskers twitched anxiously. Isn't that a bit extreme? Perhaps we should communicate with them first, seek clarification, and give them time to prepare? Krill X's scales flashed crimson with agitation. The broadcast was intentional. It was a challenge, a demonstration of their capacity for violence. After hours of heated debate, the vote was cast. 12 species voted for military action, 5 for diplomatic engagement. The decision was made. A coalition fleet would be assembled to neutralize the human threat before it could spread throughout the galaxy. As the council adjourned, only the Procyon representative lingered, watching the looped footage of the human broadcast with troubled eyes. I still think they just like yelling about food, she muttered to herself before scurrying out of the chamber. The message reached Earth Central Command exactly 3 days, 7 hours, and 14 minutes after Mac's disastrous broadcast. Admiral Eliza Stone, commander of Earth's defense fleet, sat at the head of a hastily assembled crisis table, her steely gray eyes scanning the faces of 24 military and political leaders. "Play it again," she ordered, her voice calm despite the circumstances. The holographic projector in the center of the table flickered to life, displaying the scaled, multi-armed form of Ambassador Krill X. "People of Earth," the alien's translated voice declared, "your recent broadcast has revealed your species' true barbaric nature. The Galactic Council has determined that humanity represents an unacceptable threat to peaceful civilizations. You have 7 standard rotations to surrender your planets and submit to relocation. Resistance will result in your extinction. This is not negotiable." The message ended, leaving the room in stunned silence. "Can someone please explain to me," Admiral Stone said with deadly quiet, "exactly what broadcast they're talking about?" A nervous aide handed her a tablet. "We've identified the transmission, Admiral. It appears to have originated from the Audacity 3 days ago. It was, a cooking competition show." Stone stared at the tablet, watching clips of Chef Mansley berating contestants. "They're threatening to annihilate our species over a reality show about cooking. The Voxians and several other council species don't cook their food," explained Dr. Marcus Webb, Earth's leading xenoanthropologist. "They absorb nutrients directly from raw materials. The concept of deliberately applying heat to organic matter is alien to them. Add in the shouting, the competitive aspect, the emotional displays. So they think we're violent psychopaths because of Gordon Mansley? Stone pinched the bridge of her nose. On the other side of the solar system, aboard the Audacity, Captain Mac Thornhill was facing his own inquisition. You did what? Commander Walsh's voice echoed through the ship's comm system. Thornhill were facing potential interspecies war because you couldn't wait to watch the season finale of a cooking show? Max slumped in his chair. In my defense, Commander, I didn't expect aliens to interpret you donkey. This risotto is so undercooked, it's still mooing as a declaration of war. Well, congratulations, Captain. You've managed to convince 17 alien species that humans are violent, sadistic monsters who enjoy ritualistic culinary combat. Back on Earth, Admiral Stone was reviewing their options. Earth's defense fleet consisted of 30 combat-ready vessels and a handful of orbital platforms. Intelligence reports indicated the alien coalition was assembling hundreds of ships. We're outgunned, outmanned, and out-teched, General Rodriguez stated bluntly. Our best estimates give us a survival probability of less than 12%. What about diplomacy? Asked the Secretary General. Surely we can explain this is all a misunderstanding. Dr. Webb shook his head. They're convinced the broadcast was intentional, a show of dominance. Any attempt to walk it back would be seen as weakness or deception. Admiral Stone stood up, hands planted firmly on the table. Get me Captain Thornhill from the Audacity. Since he started this mess, maybe he has some insight on how to fix it. When Mac's face appeared on the main screen, he looked like a man awaiting execution. Admiral Stone, I cannot begin to apologize enough for. Save it, Captain. I don't need apologies. I need solutions. You've apparently convinced the galaxy we're the most terrifying species since the dawn of time. How do we use that? Mac blinked. Use it? Mom, with all due respect, they're coming to wipe us out. Because they're afraid of us, Captain. Fear can be a weapon. Now think, if they're this terrified of a cooking show, what else might scare them? A slow, dangerous smile spread across Mac's face. Admiral, I think I might have an idea. It's completely insane, but then again, so is declaring war over an overcooked risotto. You want to do what? The Joint Chiefs stared at Admiral Stone, like she'd suggested they all strip naked and dance the Macarena in front of the alien armada. I want to broadcast more human content, she repeated calmly. But this time we choose exactly what they see. Captain Thornhill's face dominated the main screen, now joined by Lieutenant Plex Henderson, the Audacity's tech specialist. A woman with a shock of blue hair and more piercings than seemed regulation. The aliens already think we're violent, emotional predators, Mac explained. Rather than trying to convince them otherwise, we lean into it. Make them think we're even worse than they imagined. Henderson picked up the thread. I've been analyzing their communication protocols. With some modifications to the Centauri Nexus, we could broadcast directly into every ship in their fleet, and they wouldn't be able to block it. Psychological warfare, murmured General Rodriguez, stroking his chin thoughtfully. But what exactly would we show them? A carefully curated highlight reel of humanity's most terrifying and bizarre behaviors, Mac replied. But presented in a way that makes us seem both incredibly dangerous and completely unpredictable. Admiral Stone pulled up a detailed plan on her tablet. Operation Overreaction. Phase 1, we collect footage. Phase 2, Lieutenant Henderson modifies the Nexus to create an unblockable broadcast. Phase 3, we hit their fleet with the transmission just as they enter our solar system. This is insanity, the Secretary of Defense protested. We're betting the survival of our species on aliens being frightened by, what? Movies? Sports? Talk shows? Not just any content, Henderson interjected. We need to select material that will specifically trigger their cultural anxieties. Different species have different fear responses. For the next 3 days, a bizarre task force of anthropologists, psychologists, media experts, and military strategists worked around the clock, compiling what would later be known as the scariest playlist in human history. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Henderson and her team worked on modifying the Centauri Nexus. The plan required precision timing. They would need to hijack the relay just long enough to broadcast their message before the alien coalition realized what was happening. The main challenge, Henderson explained to Admiral Stone over a secure channel, is that we need to boost the signal enough to penetrate their ship's communication systems. I'm talking about a power draw that could fry half the circuits in the Nexus. Can you do it without being detected? Henderson snorted. No, they'll know it's us immediately. But by then it'll be too late. They'll be watching our little horror show whether they want to or not. As preparations continued, the alien fleet grew closer. Scout ships reported over 300 vessels approaching the outer edges of the solar system. Humanity's 30 combat ships and civilian evacuation plans seemed increasingly inadequate. The night before the fleet's estimated arrival, Admiral Stone found Mac alone in the Audacity's observation deck, staring out at the stars. Having second thoughts, Captain. Mac didn't turn around. I started this mess with a broadcast. Seems fitting to try ending it the same way. But if it doesn't work, then we fight, Stone said simply, and probably die. But at least we'll go out on our own terms. She placed a hand on his shoulder. Get some rest, Thornhill. Tomorrow you either save humanity with the weirdest plan in military history, or we all have front row seats to the apocalypse. When you put it that way, Admiral, Mac replied with a grim smile. How can I possibly sleep? The alien coalition fleet entered the solar system in perfect formation, 327 warships arranged in concentric rings around their flagship, the Righteous Purge. The massive vessel, twice the size of Earth's largest battleship, carried Ambassador Krillex and the combined command structure of the coalition forces. Humans detected, reported the sensor officer, a gelatinous being who communicated through color changes. They appear to be making no attempt to hide. Krillex flexed his 6 arms in a gesture of satisfaction, as expected. Their primitive technology cannot match our cloaking capabilities. He turned to the fleet commander, a cybernetically enhanced being from the Taurus Reach. Are they attempting to communicate? No, Ambassador. Their vessels are maintaining position around their homeworld. Scan indicates minimal weapons powered. They recognize the futility of resistance, Krillex said smugly. Prepare the initial strike. Target their military installations first, then. The ship's communication officer suddenly convulsed, all 6 eyes widening in alarm. Ambassador, massive energy surge detected from the Centauri Nexus. What? Impossible. The Nexus is neutral territory. They wouldn't dare. Every screen on the bridge suddenly flickered, then filled with images of humanity. But not the diplomatic transmissions or scientific exchanges the aliens had seen before. This was something else entirely. On Earth, Admiral Stone, Captain Thornhill, and Lieutenant Henderson watched from the control center as Operation Overreaction went live. Their carefully assembled montage began to stream directly into every ship in the alien fleet. The broadcast opened with footage from a monster truck rally. Enormous vehicles crushing smaller ones beneath massive wheels, engines roaring, crowds screaming in apparent bloodlust. The humans sacrificed their transport machines in ritual combat, whispered a horrified tactical officer aboard the Righteous Purge. This faded into scenes from professional wrestling, muscular humans in colorful costumes body slamming each other, jumping from great heights, and shouting threats directly at the camera. They battle for dominance without weapons, observed the fleet commander. Their physical resilience is concerning. Next came a rapid-fire sequence, horror movie trailers, with their jump scares and ominous music, clips from extreme eating competitions showing humans consuming impossible quantities of food, footage from Dancing with the Stars. That, without context, looked like elaborate mating rituals, scenes from action movies featuring impossible stunts and massive explosions, with documentary footage of humans handling venomous snakes for religious purposes, and extreme sports athletes leaping from cliffs and skyscrapers. Throughout it all ran a carefully crafted narration, delivered in the gravest voice the Earth forces could find. We are humanity. We seek thrills in the face of death. We consume for sport. We battle for entertainment. Our bodies break and we laugh. Our young train in combat from birth. We tame the most dangerous creatures for amusement. We detonate explosives to celebrate the passage of time. We are unpredictable. We are legion. We are waiting. Across the alien fleet, panic spread like wildfire. The Procyon crew members fled their stations, instinctual fear overriding military discipline. The silicon-based crystalline consciousness began resonating at frequencies that shattered viewport glass. Even the stoic Taurus Reach warriors were backing away from their screens. On the flagship, Krillex watched in mounting horror as the broadcast continued. A clip of a human voluntarily being buried alive was followed by footage of a crowded stadium of humans, all chanting in unison, their faces painted in tribal patterns. Cut communications. Krillex screamed. Block the transmission. We can't. The communications officer wailed. It's bypassing all our security protocols. The final sequence of the broadcast showed humans in laboratory settings, calmly discussing scientific principles while handling hazardous materials. Then it cut to children finger painting, their hands covered in red pigment that, to alien eyes, looked disturbingly like blood. The message ended with a simple text screen. Humanity welcomes diplomatic relations. Approach if you dare. The bridge of the righteous purge fell silent. Krillex stared at the blank screen, 6 arms trembling slightly. Ambassador, the fleet commander ventured, your orders? Krillex looked around at his fellow aliens, seeing his own fear reflected in their faces. I believe we may have misinterpreted the situation. The humans are clearly more complex than we understood. Complex, sputtered his aide. They're psychotic. Did you see the one who set himself on fire before jumping into water from a great height? For entertainment? The ambassador straightened his ceremonial robes. Tactical retreat seems advisable for further assessment of the situation. You mean run away, the fleet commander said flatly. I mean strategic withdrawal. Krillex snapped. Would you prefer to engage with a species that considers near-death experiences recreational? The alien fleet's retreat was so rapid that several of their smaller vessels collided, creating a briefly spectacular light show visible from Earth's surface. News channels reported it as an unusual meteor shower, unaware of how close humanity had come to extinction. 3 weeks later, Captain Mac Thornhill stood at attention before a panel of Earth's highest-ranking military and political leaders. The official inquiry into the broadcast incident, as it was now known, had reached its conclusion. Admiral Stone read from the official statement, Captain Mackenzie Thornhill, while your initial unauthorized transmission represented a serious breach of protocol that nearly resulted in interplanetary war. Your subsequent actions in Operation Overreaction demonstrated exceptional creative thinking under pressure. Mac tried to maintain a properly solemn expression, but couldn't quite suppress a smile. Therefore, this panel has decided on the following. You are hereby officially reprimanded for the unauthorized broadcast. Stone paused, the ghost of a smile crossing her own face, and simultaneously awarded the Stellar Cross for exceptional service to humanity. Additionally, you are promoted to the rank of commander and appointed as Earth's first cultural attaché to the Galactic Council. I'm what? Mac blinked in confusion. The aliens want to talk, explained the Secretary General. Specifically, they've requested the creative human who understands intimidation rituals to represent Earth in negotiations. 6 months later, Commander Thornhill sat in his new office on Harmonium, watching as his assistant arranged a collection of Earth memorabilia, a task made challenging by her 6 arms and iridescent scales. Is this displayed correctly, Commander? Asked Krill X's daughter, T-Lex, who had volunteered to serve as his cultural liaison. She pointed to a poster of Chef Gordon Mansley. Perfect, Mac assured her. And please call me Mac. Earth now occupied a unique position in galactic politics. Not quite feared, not quite respected, but regarded with a kind of wary fascination. Other species approached humans cautiously, never quite sure if they were dealing with dangerous predators or eccentric artists. The term pulling a human had entered galactic slang, meaning to behave in a way that was simultaneously terrifying and absurd. Earth's entertainment broadcasts were now the most popular contraband in the galaxy, with alien teens secretly watching them as forbidden thrills. As Mac prepared for his first official council meeting, Admiral Stone's message arrived on his personal channel. Still think you should have been court-martialed, but can't argue with results. The Procyon are asking if we'd consider a cultural exchange program. Apparently. They're fascinated by our ritual of competitive baking. God help us all. Stone out. Mac leaned back in his chair, grinning at the ceiling. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not through superior technology or military might, but through the galaxy's collective inability to figure out whether humans were the most terrifying species in existence or just really, really weird. In the grand cosmic scheme of things, Mac reflected, being enigmatically bizarre wasn't the worst diplomatic position. After all, no one picks a fight with the crazy ones.